The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, crystal fragments scattering like diamonds across the polished stone. But Emma Chen didn't notice. She was too busy staring at the man who'd just called her sweetheart with that insufferable smirk, too furious to care that every person in the gilded ballroom had stopped mid-conversation to watch. "Excuse me?" Her voice came out low, dangerous, the kind of quiet that preceded storms. The man, tall, dark-haired, wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than her annual salary, tilted his head, clearly amused. I said, "Sweetheart, the waitstaff entrance is in the back. This event is invitation only." Heat flooded Emma's cheeks. Not the embarrassed kind, the furious kind. She'd been standing here for less than 5 minutes, wearing a borrowed black dress that Sarah had insisted made her look elegant, holding her small clutch like a shield, trying to work up the courage to approach the event coordinator about the graphic design position. And this arrogant ass had just assumed she was what? Crashing the party? Looking for handouts? "I'm not waitstaff," she said through clenched teeth. "I'm here for the..." "Listen." He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something darker, something that made her pulse quicken despite her anger. "I don't know how you got past security, but I suggest you leave before. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you." The slap happened before Emma's brain could catch up with her hand. The crack echoed through the suddenly silent ballroom like a gunshot. Her palm stung. His head had turned slightly from the impact, a red mark already blooming across his sharp cheekbone. For 3 heartbeats, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then he laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not an embarrassed, nervous sound. A genuine, delighted laugh that started deep in his chest and transformed his entire face. The cold, arrogant expression melted into something boyish, almost warm, and infinitely more dangerous. "Marry me," he said. Emma's mouth fell open. "What?" "Marry me." He was still smiling, rubbing his cheek with one hand, dark eyes glittering with something between amusement and admiration. "That's the first honest reaction I've gotten from anyone in 5 years. You're insane." Emma took a step back, suddenly aware of the crowd pressing in around them, of the cameras probably recording every second, of how spectacularly she'd just destroyed any chance of getting that job. "I'm leaving." She turned, chin high despite the trembling in her hands, and walked toward the exit with as much dignity as she could salvage. Behind her, she heard whispers erupting like wildfire. Did she just... Who is that woman? Is that actually Dominic Volkov? She hit him, and he smiled. Volkov. The name registered, somewhere in the back of Emma's mind, familiar in a way that made her stomach drop. She'd heard that name before. Where had she? A hand caught her elbow, gentle but firm. "Wait." His voice was different now, quieter. "I apologize." Emma whirled, yanking her arm free. "Don't touch me." "Dominic." Volkov raised both hands in surrender, that infuriating smile still playing at the corners of his mouth. Up close, she could see details she'd missed before. The scar cutting through his left eyebrow, the calluses on his knuckles that didn't match the expensive suit, the way his eyes, dark as midnight, seemed to catalog everything about her in a single glance. "I was rude," he said simply. "I made an assumption I shouldn't have. I'm sorry." The apology sounded genuine, which somehow made Emma angrier. She didn't want him to be reasonable. She wanted him to stay the arrogant jackass so she could justify the heat still burning in her cheeks, the way her heart hammered against her ribs. "Fine. Apology accepted. Now if you'll excuse me, you're here for the design position." "Not a question." Emma froze. "How did you..." "The portfolio." He nodded toward her clutch, where the corner of her leather portfolio case was visible. "And you've been staring at Miranda Chen all evening. She's the hiring manager." His eyes crinkled slightly. "Also, I own the building. I make it my business to know who's interviewing for positions in my companies." Your companies. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Volkov Industries. The real estate empire that owned half of downtown Chicago. The man standing in front of her wasn't just wealthy, he was powerful. The kind of powerful that made governors take his calls and rivals disappear from the business pages. The kind of powerful that made the slap she'd just delivered potentially career-ending. Or life-ending, whispered a small voice in the back of her mind. Because she knew that name now. Dominic Volkov. And if even half the rumors were true, "I should go," Emma said, hating how her voice shook. I'm sorry for hitting you. I shouldn't have. Don't. The command in his voice stopped her mid-apology. Don't apologize for standing up for yourself. I was condescending and dismissive. He paused, then added with that half-smile. Though perhaps next time use words before violence? Despite everything, the humiliation, the fear, the absolute disaster of the evening, Emma felt her lips twitch. Perhaps you could try not being an ass before making assumptions? The smile widened into something genuine, something that made him look younger, less like a titan of industry and more like a man who'd just been surprised by something unexpected and delightful. Touché, he extended his hand. Dominic Volkov, and you are? Emma stared at his hand like it might be a trap, which, knowing what she knew about the Volkov family, it very well could be. The newspapers called them real estate moguls. The streets called them something else entirely, but her mama hadn't raised a coward. Emma Chen. She shook his hand, ignoring the way electricity seemed to jump between their palms, the way his fingers wrapped around hers with unexpected gentleness. Well, Emma Chen, Dominic released her hand slowly, deliberately. I believe you have an interview tomorrow at 9. I suggest you show up with that same fire you just demonstrated. Miranda appreciates passion. He was giving her a second chance. No, he was giving her the job interview she'd risked everything to attend. Tonight, the opportunity she'd been building toward for 3 years, while working 2 jobs and taking night classes, the chance to finally pull herself and Lily out of the cycle of just barely surviving. Thank you, Emma said softly. Don't thank me yet. Miranda's standards are brutal. He started to turn away, then paused. And Emma? The marriage proposal stands. Just so you know. He walked away before she could respond, leaving her standing in the middle of the ballroom, with her heart racing and her mind spinning, and absolutely no idea what had just happened. Emma's apartment was a 40-minute train ride from the glittering towers of downtown Chicago, located in a neighborhood where the streetlights flickered more often than they worked, and the sound of sirens was as common as birdsong. She climbed the 3 flights of stairs to apartment 3C, her feet aching in Sarah's borrowed heels, and nearly wept with relief when she saw the warm light spilling under the door. Mrs. Park opened it before Emma could get her key out. How did it go? The elderly Korean woman who babysat Lily asked in her heavily accented English, already stepping aside to let Emma in. Complicated, Emma admitted, kicking off the torture devices masquerading as shoes. Is she asleep? Like Angel. Been asleep since 8. Mrs. Park gathered her knitting bag. She drew you picture. Is on table. Emma walked to the small kitchen table where a piece of construction paper waited, covered in enthusiastic crayon strokes. A stick figure labeled Mommy stood next to a smaller stick figure labeled Me under a bright yellow sun. Hearts floated everywhere. The tightness in Emma's chest eased slightly. This was what mattered. Not arrogant billionaires or humiliating public scenes or the phantom feeling of Dominic Volkov's hand still warm against hers. After Mrs. Park left, Emma checked on Lily, 5 years old, dark hair splayed across her pillow, one arm wrapped around the stuffed rabbit Emma had sewn from fabric scraps. Her daughter, her reason for everything, Emma, had been 22 when she'd discovered she was pregnant. 22, broke, and dating a man who'd seemed charming right up until the moment she'd told him about the baby. Marcus had been gone within a week, leaving nothing but a maxed-out credit card in Emma's name and a lease she couldn't afford. Her parents had wanted her to come home to San Francisco, to raise the baby in their cramped apartment above the restaurant, to admit defeat. But Emma had been stubborn. Stupid, maybe. She'd stayed in Chicago, worked through her pregnancy, given birth to Lily alone except for Sarah, her Hebscall, only real friend, and then worked harder. 3 years of community college while pregnant and raising an infant. 2 years juggling day shifts at the coffee shop and night shifts doing freelance design work online while Lily slept. Countless rejections from design firms who wanted someone with a degree from a prestigious school, someone who didn't have to leave at 5 sharp to pick up their kid, someone who fit their image, until tomorrow. Tomorrow, she had a real interview with Miranda Chen at Volkov Industries. A chance at a junior designer position with benefits and regular hours and a salary that would mean Lily could have new clothes instead of thrift store finds, could go to the better elementary school across town, could have the childhood Emma dreamed of giving her. If she didn't completely screw it up. Emma changed into her pajamas and climbed into bed, but sleep evaded her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dominic Volkov's face, The shock when her palm connected with his cheek, the laugh that had followed, the way he'd looked at her like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Marry me. He'd been joking, obviously. Men like Dominic Volkov didn't propose to. Women like Emma Chen. They didn't even notice women like Emma Chen, except to mistake them for waitstaff at charity events. Except he had noticed. And something in the way he'd watched her walk away, something in the set of his shoulders and the tone of his voice when he'd said the marriage, proposal stands, made her wonder if maybe… No. Emma rolled onto her side, forcing her eyes shut. Tomorrow was about the job. About Lily's future. About building something stable and secure that didn't depend on the whims of a dangerous man with too much power and a smile that made her forget why. Getting involved with power was the worst idea possible. Tomorrow was about survival. She just hoped she hadn't destroyed her chances with a single slap. The Volkov Industries building rose 43 stories into the Chicago skyline, all glass and steel and impossible angles that seemed designed to intimidate. Emma stood on the sidewalk at 8:45 the next morning, clutching her portfolio case with white knuckles, trying to convince herself she could do this. The lobby was even more impressive than the exterior. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine, a waterfall cascading down. One wall, security guards in crisp uniforms stationed at a desk that looked like it belonged in a museum. Emma Chen, she told the guard, her voice steadier than she felt. I have a 9 o'clock interview with Miranda Chen. The guard, young, professional, with kind eyes, checked his tablet and nodded. 27th floor. Elevators are to your right. They're expecting you. The elevator ride gave Emma 60 seconds to panic. What if Dominic had told Miranda about last night? What if this was some elaborate joke, revenge for the public humiliation? What if… The doors opened onto a reception area decorated in whites and grays, modern and clean and utterly intimidating. A woman with silver hair and a warm smile looked up from her desk. Emma Chen? Miranda's ready for you. Conference room 2, just down that hall. Miranda Chen turned out to be a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes, elegant posture, and a handshake that communicated both strength and assessment. She spent 90 minutes reviewing Emma's portfolio, asking pointed questions about design philosophy and technical skills, presenting hypothetical client scenarios, and watching how Emma responded. It was brutal, professional. Exactly what Emma had prepared for. Your technical skills are solid, Miranda said finally, closing the portfolio. Your creativity is evident, but you're self-taught for the most part, yes? Night classes at community college? Emma's heart sank. Yes, ma'am. I had my daughter young, and traditional university wasn't an option, but I've worked hard to… I'm not criticizing, Miranda interrupted gently. I'm observing. Self-taught designers often bring perspectives that formally educated ones miss. They see problems differently. She paused. The position requires long hours. Sometimes. Tight deadlines. Can you manage that with a child? The question every working mother dreaded. The one that was technically illegal but always asked anyway. I have excellent childcare arrangements, Emma said carefully, and I'm used to working under pressure. For the past 3 years, I've been managing freelance clients while working full-time at a coffee shop and raising my daughter. I know how to prioritize. I know how to deliver quality work on time. Miranda studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. The position is yours if you want it. $45,000 a year to do. Start. Full benefits. 2 weeks vacation. You'd be working primarily on digital marketing materials for our real estate properties, with opportunity to advance based on performance. Emma's vision blurred slightly. 45,000. That was more than she'd made in the past 2 years combined. I want it, she said, not caring that her voice cracked slightly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. The work is demanding, and Mr. Volkov has high standards. Miranda stood, extending her hand. Can you start Monday? Absolutely. Emma practically floated back to the elevator, her portfolio case feeling weightless, her future suddenly bright and solid and real. She'd done it. She'd actually… The elevator doors opened on the lobby level, and Emma stepped out directly into Dominic Volkov's path. He caught her shoulders to steady her, his hands warm through the fabric of her blazer. Emma, congratulations on the position. Heat flooded her cheeks. You knew she'd offer it? I knew you'd earn it. He released her, stepping back, but his eyes held hers. Miranda doesn't hire people as favors. If she offered you the job, it's because you're qualified. People were staring. Of course they were. The CEO didn't typically stop employees or soon-to-be employees in the lobby for personal conversations. "Thank you," Emma said quietly. "For the opportunity. For yesterday. For, have dinner with me." The words hung between them, shocking in their directness. "What? Dinner." Dominic's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. "Tomorrow night. I'd like to apologize properly for my behavior at the gala. And I'd like to get to know the woman brave enough to slap me in front of 200 witnesses." Every instinct Emma possessed screamed that this was a bad idea. He was her boss, well, her boss's boss's boss. He was powerful and dangerous and connected to things she didn't want to think about too closely. He was completely, utterly out of her league. But he was also looking at her like she mattered, like she was interesting. Like that slap had done something more than amuse him, it had intrigued him. "I have a daughter," Emma heard herself say. "Lily. She's 5. I know." Of course he knew. He probably knew everything about her by now. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it made her feel oddly seen. "Dinner," Dominic repeated. 7 o'clock. I'll send a car. I can meet you, Emma." He smiled, and it transformed his whole face again, made him look younger, less dangerous. "Let me do this right, please." That please undid her. This man who commanded empires, who made politicians nervous, who could probably end careers with a phone call he was asking. Not demanding, asking. "Okay," Emma said softly. "Dinner. Tomorrow at 7. His smile widened. "Good. Wear whatever makes you comfortable. This isn't a business dinner." He walked away, leaving Emma standing in the lobby with her new job secured, her future brightening, and absolutely no idea what she'd just agreed to. Sarah was going to kill her, or possibly throw a party. Emma wasn't sure which would be worse. "You said yes to what?" Sarah's voice hit a pitch that probably alarmed dogs in neighboring apartments. Emma winced, holding her phone away from her ear while simultaneously trying to prevent Lily from coloring on the walls. "It's just dinner, Sarah. A thank you for the job opportunity." "Emma Chen, are you actually this naive, or are you practicing for sainthood?" Sarah's exasperation came through clearly despite the distance. "Dominic Volkov doesn't do just dinner. The man owns half of Chicago. He's connected to..." She lowered her voice. "You know what he's connected to." Emma did know. After getting home yesterday, she'd spent 2 hours falling down an internet rabbit hole, while Lily napped. Dominic Volkov, 34 years old, CEO of Volkov Industries. Officially, a real estate mogul who'd taken his father's modest construction business and transformed it into a billion-dollar empire. Unofficially, the heir to the Volkov family's other enterprises, the ones that operated in shadows and dealt in currencies that didn't involve banks. The articles were carefully worded. No direct accusations, just implications, associations. Photographs of Dominic with men whose names appeared in FBI investigations. References to his father, Viktor Volkov, who died 5 years ago under circumstances the media called suspicious. Mentions of rival families and territorial disputes and business deals that seemed too profitable to be entirely legal. And yet, nothing stuck. No charges, no arrests. Dominic Volkov remained untouchable, operating his empire with ruthless efficiency, while maintaining a veneer of legitimacy that made prosecutors grind their teeth in frustration. "I know what you're thinking," Emma said, watching Lily carefully add purple flowers to her drawing. "But he's been nothing but respectful. And it's one dinner, Sarah. I can handle." "One dinner." Famous last words, Sarah muttered. "Fine. But I'm coming over beforehand to help you get ready, and you're texting me every 30 minutes to prove you're still alive." "You're being dramatic." "Emma, you slapped a Mafia boss in public and he proposed. I'm not being dramatic enough." After hanging up, Emma tried to focus on the practical aspects of her new job. She'd start Monday, which gave her 3 days to arrange better childcare, Mrs. Park was wonderful, but she couldn't do the longer hours Emma would now need. She'd have to update Lily's school paperwork with the new emergency contacts. She'd need professional clothes beyond the single blazer and 2 pairs of slacks she currently owned. The thought of professional clothes led to thoughts of what to wear tomorrow night, which led to a spiral of anxiety that made Emma's stomach clench. What did one wear to dinner? With a man who probably ate at restaurants where the menus didn't list prices? Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Car will pick you up at 6:45 tomorrow. Casual attire. No need to impress me, you already have. DV." Emma stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the reply. "Button. How had he gotten her number? The same way he'd known everything else about her. Probably. The thought should have been creepy. Instead, it made her feel oddly cared for, like he'd anticipated her anxiety and addressed it before she could spiral too far. She typed and deleted 3 responses before finally settling on, "Thank you. See you tomorrow." His reply came instantly. "Looking forward to it." 3 words that made Emma's heart rate spike and her common sense scream warnings she was absolutely going to ignore. The car that arrived Saturday evening wasn't what Emma expected. No limousine, no obvious display of wealth, just a sleek black sedan with a driver who introduced himself as Marcus and treated her with warm professionalism rather than the cold efficiency she'd anticipated. "Mr. Volkov asked me to assure you that I'm driving you directly to the wrecked restaurant, no detours, and that you have my number to call if you feel uncomfortable at any point," Marcus said as he opened the door for her. The consideration in that simple statement nearly undid Emma's composure. She'd half expected to feel like property being transported, but this felt more like being protected. Sarah had helped her select an outfit, dark jeans that actually fit properly, a soft green blouse that brought out her eyes, minimal jewelry, hair down in loose waves, casual but put together, comfortable enough that she didn't feel like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. The restaurant was in a neighborhood Emma had never visited, the kind where renovated brownstones housed boutiques with single items displayed in their windows like art. Marcus pulled up to a building with no obvious signage, just a single door with a small bronze plaque reading, "Sorella." Dominic was waiting outside, and Emma's breath caught despite her best efforts to remain unaffected. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that somehow managed to look both casual and expensive, his hair slightly disheveled in a way that suggested he'd run his fingers through it. When he smiled at her approach, that boyish warmth from the gala reappeared, transforming him from intimidating mogul to something dangerously appealing. "Emma." He extended his hand, helping her from the car with old-fashioned courtesy that felt natural rather than performative. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." She was grateful, her voice came out steady. "You said casual. I hope this is appropriate." "It's perfect." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" Inside, Sorella was intimate and warm, with exposed brick walls, candlelight, and the scent of garlic and fresh bread that made Emma's mouth water. But what struck her most was the emptiness. A dozen tables, all beautifully set, and not a single other patron. "Did you—" Emma turned to Dominic. "Did you rent out the entire restaurant?" "I wanted privacy for our conversation." He pulled out her chair, his hand briefly touching her lower back, sending electricity up her spine. "And I thought you might be more comfortable without an audience." He was right. Emma settled into her seat, grateful not to have curious eyes watching their interaction, not to have to perform for strangers. "That's very thoughtful. Thank you." A waiter appeared with wine, which Dominic waved away. "Emma, what would you like to drink?" "Water is fine, actually." At his raised eyebrow, she added, "I don't drink much. Growing up in a restaurant family, you see what alcohol does to people. Plus, single mom, I need to keep my wits about me." Something flickered across his face. Approval, maybe, or respect. "Water for both of us, then. And bring the tasting menu, Antonio. Whatever the chef recommends tonight." As the waiter departed, Dominic leaned back in his chair, studying Emma with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but instead felt like being truly seen for the first time in years. "Tell me about Lily," he said. The request surprised her. Most men, when interested in a woman, treated her child as an obstacle to navigate around. But Dominic had led with it, making Lily central rather than peripheral. "She's 5, Emma said, unable to stop the smile that always came when talking about her daughter. "Starts kindergarten in the fall. She's obsessed with dinosaurs currently, specifically pterodactyls, which she can spell better than I can. She's creative and stubborn and entirely too smart for her own. Good. Like her mother." Emma felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I don't know about smart. Smart women probably don't slap powerful men at charity events. Smart women stand up for themselves when disrespected." Dominic's expression turned serious. "I meant what I said, Emma. I was condescending and dismissive. In my world, you learn to assess people quickly, to categorize them, to protect yourself by maintaining distance. But that's no excuse for how I treated you. You apologized already, and you helped me get the job interview." "No." He leaned forward. "I made sure Miranda knew you had an appointment. You got the job entirely on your own merit. Miranda Chen doesn't hire people as favors, not even for me. If anything, being associated with me probably made her scrutinize you more carefully. The first course arrived delicate pasta with truffle oil that tasted like heaven. Emma had to suppress a moan at the first bite. Dominic smiled. Good? I'm trying to maintain some dignity here, but this might be the best thing I've ever eaten. She paused. Do you come here often? The chef is an old friend. He opened Sorella 3 years ago, and I helped with the initial soda. Investment. At her look, he added. Legitimate investment. No strings, no favors owed. Just a friend helping a friend pursue his dream. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment before Dominic spoke again. Your turn. Ask me something. Emma set down her fork. Why did you really ask me to... dinner? And don't say to apologize. You could have done that in your office, or with an email, or 100 other ways that didn't involve renting out an entire restaurant. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Because you're the first genuine person I've encountered in years. His honesty was startling in its directness. Everyone in my world wants something. Access, favors, money, protection. They smile and agree and tell me what they think I want to hear. But you, he shook his head, that smile returning. You slapped me. You looked at me like I was just another asshole being rude to a stranger, not the heir to the Volkov empire. Not someone to fear or manipulate, just a man who needed to be put in his place. I didn't know who you were, Emma admitted. I know. That's what made it perfect. He paused as the next course arrived, seared scallops with a citrus reduction that looked like edible art. Tell me about the father. Lily's. Emma's hand tightened on her fork. That's a heavy topic for a first. Date. Is this a date? Dominic's eyes glinted with amusement. I thought this was an apology dinner. You're deflecting. So are you. Fair point. Emma took a breath, deciding that if he could be honest, so could she. His name was Marcus. We dated for 2 years. I thought we were building toward something permanent. Then I got pregnant, and I discovered who he really was. A charming narcissist who was already $10,000 in debt using credit cards in my name. He left the day after I told him about the baby. I haven't heard from him since. Dominic's expression darkened, his jaw tightening. He abandoned you while you were pregnant? And stole my identity and destroyed my credit. Emma forced a lightness she didn't feel. But I got Lily out of it, so I can't regret it entirely. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Still, that must have been terrifying. Being alone, pregnant, with your finances destroyed. It was. The admission came easier than Emma expected. My parents wanted me to come home to San Francisco, but I was stubborn. I wanted to prove I could make it work on my own. So I did. Barely. With a lot of help from Sarah and Mrs. Park and the universe occasionally throwing me a bone. You're remarkable, Dominic said softly. Emma laughed, startled. I'm a 27-year-old single mother who just got her first real job. There's nothing remarkable about that. You raised a child while putting yourself through school while working multiple jobs. You rebuilt your life after someone you trusted destroyed it. You pursued your dreams despite every obstacle. His eyes held hers. That's the definition of remarkable, Emma. Something shifted in her chest, some wall she'd built around her heart developing a crack. This wasn't what she'd expected. She'd thought dinner with Dominic Volkov would be about power games and subtle manipulation, about a wealthy man amusing himself with someone beneath his station. Instead, it felt like being seen, really, truly seen. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of incredible food, and conversation that ranged from serious to playful. Dominic told her about growing up in Chicago, about his father's expectations and the weight of legacy. Emma shared stories about Lily's antics and her dreams for the design position. They discovered a shared love of old movies and a mutual hatred of pretentious modern art. By the time dessert arrived, a chocolate creation that should have been illegal, Emma had laughed more than she had in months and forgotten to be nervous about who Dominic was, what he represented, the danger that lurked beneath his polished surface. I should get home, she said reluctantly as they finished coffee. Mrs. Park charges overtime after 10, and Lily will be up early tomorrow demanding pancakes and a nature documentary. Dominic signaled for the check, which appeared and disappeared without Emma catching a glimpse of the total. As they stood, he helped her with her coat, his hands lingering on her shoulders for just a moment. Thank you for taking a chance on dinner with me, he said. Thank you for the best meal of my life and conversation that didn't involve dinosaur facts or the proper way to make Play-Doh less sticky. He laughed, rich and genuine, and Emma felt that crack in her walls widen. Marcus was waiting with the car. As Emma slid into the back seat, Dominic leaned in. Can I see you again? Not business, not apology. Just because I'd like to spend more time with you. Emma knew she should say no. Should recognize this for what it was, a dangerous complication she couldn't afford. Should protect herself and Lily from getting involved with a man whose world operated by rules she didn't understand. Yes, she heard herself say. I'd like that. His smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. Good, I'll call you. The drive home felt both too short and endless. Emma replayed the evening in her mind, analyzing every word, every look, every moment of connection that had felt too real to be manipulation but too perfect to be entirely safe. Sarah was waiting in Emma's apartment, having put Lily to bed hours ago. She took one look at Emma's face and groaned. You like him? It was just dinner, Emma. You like him. I can see it all over your face. Sarah's expression turned serious. Please tell me you're being careful. Please tell me you know what you're getting into. Emma sank onto her second-hand couch, suddenly exhausted. I don't know what I'm getting into, Sarah. I don't know if this is real or if I'm being played or if I'm just so starved for adult connection that I'm reading too much into simple kindness. What does your gut say? Emma closed her eyes, remembering the way Dominic had looked at her. Like she mattered, like she was precious, like slapping him had been the beginning of something neither of them had seen coming. My gut says I'm in trouble, she admitted, but I don't think I want to run from it. Sarah sighed, pulling Emma into a hug. Then, I've got your back. Whatever happens, however this plays out, you're not alone in this. Emma hugged her friend tightly, grateful beyond words. Thank you. After Sarah left, Emma checked on Lily sleeping peacefully, one arm flung over her stuffed rabbit, and then stood at her kitchen window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Somewhere in one of those glittering towers, Dominic Volkov was probably still awake, running his empire, making decisions that affected thousands of lives, and somehow, impossibly, he'd looked at her like she was the most important person in his world. Emma's phone buzzed with a text. Thank you for tonight. Sleep well. DV. She typed back. You too. His response came immediately. Already looking forward to next time. Emma fell asleep with her phone in her hand and a smile on her face, completely unaware that in 3 days, everything would change. Completely unaware that Dominic Volkov's interest had just painted a target on her back. Monday morning arrived with the chaos of Lily refusing to wear anything except her dinosaur costume to kindergarten orientation, and Emma realizing she'd forgotten to pick up her dry cleaning. By the time she dropped Lily at the new daycare, a bright, cheerful facility that cost significantly more than Mrs. Park but offered structured learning and better hours, and arrived at Volkov Industries, she was 15 minutes late and breathless. Miranda Chen didn't comment on the tardiness, just handed Emma a tablet loaded with her first project and showed her to a cubicle with an actual window view. You'll be working on the digital campaign for the River North development, Miranda explained. We need everything from website design to social media graphics to virtual tour interfaces. Timeline is aggressive. We're launching in 6 weeks. Questions? Emma's mind raced, already cataloging requirements and deadlines. Creative freedom or established brand guidelines? Blend of both. I'll send you the brand package. But Dominic wants something fresh. Surprise us. Miranda's expression softened slightly. You can do this, Emma. I wouldn't have hired you if I didn't believe that. The words carried Emma through the morning as she dove into the project, losing herself in color palettes and typography and the pure creative joy she'd been denied while slinging coffee for minimum wage. Her coworkers were friendly but busy, offering quick hellos before retreating to their own deadlines. The office culture was intense but professional, driven but not cutthroat. Emma was so absorbed in her work that she jumped when someone cleared their throat behind her. Dominic stood there, in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her car, holding 2 cups of coffee. I remembered you took it with cream and sugar, he said, offering 1 cup. Possibly too much sugar, according to the barista's expression. Emma accepted the coffee, hyper-aware that several coworkers had suddenly found reasons to walk past her cubicle. Thank you. You didn't have to. I wanted to. He perched on the edge of her desk, completely at ease despite the informal breach of corporate hierarchy. How's your first day? Overwhelming in the best possible way. Emma gestured at her screen, where she'd been mocking up homepage concepts. "This project is incredible. Thank you for the opportunity." Dominic studied her work, his expression thoughtful. "You're talented. Miranda was right to hire you." He paused. "Have dinner with me again. Wednesday?" Emma glanced around at the trail. Not so subtle eavesdropping. "Is this appropriate? Dating the boss?" "I'm not your boss. Miranda is." His smile turned mischievous. "But if you're concerned about appearances, we can keep it private for now. Though given that you slapped me at a public event, I assume discretion wasn't your priority." Despite herself, Emma laughed. "Fair point." She lowered her voice. "Wednesday works, but I'll need to be home by 9. Lily has school the next morning. I'll have you home by 8:30. He stood, straightening his tie. "And Emma?" "The red-haired woman 3 cubicles down has been filming us on her phone for the past 2 minutes. Just so you're aware." Emma's head whipped around to see Rachel from accounting quickly hiding her phone, face flushed. Dominic's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. He walked over to Rachel's cubicle, his voice low but carrying. "I'm sure we're just reviewing something for work, Rachel. And I'm equally sure that any personal recordings made during office hours would be a violation of company policy. The kind that results in immediate termination." Rachel went pale. "I was just Mr. Volkov. I'm sorry. I didn't mean." "Delete it. Now." The command in his voice made everyone in the vicinity freeze. Rachel fumbled with her phone, her hands shaking, and held it up to show him the deletion. Dominic watched, nodded once, and returned to Emma's cubicle as if nothing had happened. "Where were we?" His voice was pleasant again, the ice completely gone. "Ah, yes. Wednesday at 7. I'll text you details." He left, and the office slowly returned to normal activity, though Emma caught several speculative glances thrown her way. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept replaying that moment when Dominic's expression had changed, when the pleasant facade had dropped and something colder, harder, infinitely more dangerous had appeared. That was the real Dominic Volkov, Emma realized. The one who ruled an empire through fear as much as respect. The one whose business dealings extended into shadows where normal rules didn't apply. And she'd just agreed to dinner with him again. Sarah's voice echoed in her head. "You're in trouble." Emma pulled up her design software, forcing herself to focus on color theory and user experience, rather than the way her pulse had quickened when Dominic defended her, when he'd quoting its subcodamine, eliminated a threat to her privacy with casual ruthlessness. Her phone buzzed with a text. "Sorry about that, but nobody gets to exploit you for gossip. Not while I can prevent it. DV." Emma stared at the message, her chest tight with emotions she couldn't name. Protection. That's what that had been. Aggressive, possibly excessive, but protection nonetheless. She typed back, "Thank you, though I can handle office politics." His response, "I know you can, but you shouldn't have to. See you Wednesday." Emma set down her phone and returned to work, trying to ignore the fact that somewhere between slapping Dominic Volkov and accepting his second dinner invitation, she'd started falling for him. And falling for a man like Dominic Volkov, a man whose protection came with razor-sharp edges and implications she didn't want to examine too closely, was the most dangerous thing Emma had done in Follows. Her carefully constructed, safety-focused life. Wednesday's dinner was at a small Italian place in Little Italy, family-owned and warm, where the chef knew Dominic by name and brought them dishes that weren't on the menu. They talked about everything and nothing. Emma's design work, Lily's obsession with a new dinosaur documentary, Dominic's frustration with city zoning regulations. It felt normal, easy, like they were just two people getting to know each other, rather than a Mafia heir and a single mother from completely different worlds. Until they weren't. Emma had just finished, telling a story about Lily's disastrous attempt to make her own slime. When Dominic's phone buzzed, he glanced at it, and his entire demeanor changed. The warmth drained from his expression, replaced by cold calculation. "I need to take this," he said, standing abruptly. "I'm sorry. Stay here. Order. Dessert. I'll be back in 5 minutes." He stepped outside, and through the window, Emma watched him pace while speaking rapidly into his phone, his free hand gesturing sharply. Even from a distance, she could see the tension in his shoulders, the hardness in his expression. This was business. The other kind. 5 minutes stretched to 10, then 15. Emma ordered tiramisu she didn't want, and tried not to think about what kind of phone call could transform Dominic so completely. When he returned, he looked exhausted. "I'm sorry," he said, sitting heavily. "That was unavoidable." Is everything okay? No. He rubbed his face. But it will be. I'll make sure of it. He looked at her then, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. This is what my life is like, Emma. Interruptions, crises, things I can't explain or share. If we're going to continue seeing each other, you need to know that. Emma reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. I'm not naive, Dominic. I know your life isn't normal. I know there are parts of it you can't or won't share with me. The question is whether you're involving me in anything that could hurt Lily. Never. The word was immediate, fierce. You and Lily are completely separate from that side of my world. I would never. He stopped, seeming to wrestle with words. You're important to me, Emma, more than you should be after just 2 weeks. And because of that, I need to keep you protected from the parts of my life that are dangerous. Protected or isolated. The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Both, maybe, Dominic admitted. I don't know how to do this, how to care about someone without either exposing them to danger or keeping them at arm's length. Every person in my life is either an NN, asset, a threat, or collateral damage. I don't know how to make you something else. Emma squeezed his hand. Maybe start by letting me decide what risks I'm willing to take. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe, or relief. You're remarkable. Have I mentioned that? Once or twice. She smiled. Now eat your tiramisu before it melts. Lily would never forgive me if I wasted good dessert. The tension eased, and they finished their meal in comfortable conversation. But as Marcus drove Emma home, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just committed to something far more complex than dating. She'd committed to seeing Dominic Volkov as a whole person, the charming dinner companion and the ruthless businessman, the man who made her laugh and the one who could silence an office with a single hard look. And somewhere in the complicated tangle of who he was and who she was becoming around him, Emma was falling too fast and too hard to protect herself from the inevitable crash. Her phone buzzed as she walked into her apartment building. Thank you for understanding. For not running. DV. Emma typed back. I'm tougher than I look. His response made her smile. I know. It's one of the many things I admire about you. Sleep well, Emma. She fell asleep thinking about the way he'd said her name like it was important. Like she was important. Like maybe, just maybe, this impossible thing between them might actually work. But in a dark office across town, someone else was thinking about Emma Chen too. Thinking about how close she was getting to Dominic Volkov. Thinking about how useful she could be. Thinking about exactly how to turn Emma Chen into leverage. Emma's 3rd week at Volkov Industries started with flowers. Not just flowers, 24 white roses. Delivered to her desk at 9 a.m. with a card that read simply, because you mentioned liking them. DV, she'd mentioned it once. In passing during their last dinner, a throwaway comment about her grandmother's garden in San Francisco. The fact that Dominic had remembered, had acted on such a small detail, made Emma's chest tighten with emotion she wasn't ready to name. Someone's got it bad, teased Jennifer from the neighboring cubicle, a graphic designer who'd been friendly since Emma's first day. Those are gorgeous. Emma felt heat rise in her cheeks. They're just flowers. Honey, those are not just flowers. Those are I'm thinking about you constantly flowers. Jennifer grinned. And coming from Dominic Volkov? That's a whole statement. Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from the man himself. Dinner tonight? I know it's short notice, but I have something I want to show you. Emma hesitated. She'd seen Dominic 4 times in 2 weeks, twice for dinner, once for coffee when he'd happened to be in her neighborhood, and once when he'd stopped by her desk to ask her opinion on marketing materials he absolutely didn't need her input on. Each interaction left her more conflicted, more drawn to him despite every logical reason to maintain distance. But Lily had been asking questions. Who keeps texting you, Mommy? Why are you smiling at your phone? Is it a boy? Do you have a boyfriend? 5-year-olds were far too perceptive. I need to be home by 8, Emma typed back. And I'd like you to meet Lily soon. If this is going where I think it's going. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before his response came. I'd like that. Very much. Tonight's different though, just us. I promise you'll understand why. Curiosity won, over caution. Okay, pick me up at 6? I'll be there. The rest of the workday passed in a blur of design iterations and client feedback. Emma was deep in adjusting the color palette for the River North virtual tour when Miranda appeared at her cubicle. Emma, Can you come to my office? The tone was neutral, but something in Miranda's expression made Emma's stomach clench. She followed her supervisor down the hall to a glass-walled office with a view of the Chicago River. Miranda closed the door and gestured for Emma to sit. I'm going to be direct. Are you involved with Dominic Volkov? Emma's mind raced. Lying felt wrong, but the truth was complicated. We've been seeing each other. Yes. Is that a problem? That depends. Miranda folded her hands on her desk. I hired you because you're talented, Emma. Your portfolio spoke for itself. But I need to know, did Dominic ask me to hire you? Is this position contingent on your relationship with him? No. Emma's response was immediate and firm. He made sure I got the interview. But you made the hiring decision. He told me explicitly that you don't do favors, even for him. Miranda's expression softened slightly. That's true. I don't. But I also can't ignore the optics here. A new hire, still in her probationary period, dating the CEO. Other employees are talking. Some are saying you're getting special treatment. Am I? Emma challenged. Have I received any preferential assignments? Any easier deadlines? Any resources other designers don't have access to? No, Miranda admitted. If anything, I've been harder on you to avoid the appearance of favoritism. She paused. But perception matters, Emma. And right now, the perception is that you're sleeping your way to success. The words hit like a physical blow. Emma's hands clenched in her lap. I'm not. I earned this position. My relationship with Dominic is completely separate. I believe you. Miranda's voice was kind but firm. But you need to understand what you're walking into. Dominic Volkov doesn't date casually. The few women he's been publicly involved with have either been absorbed into his world completely or destroyed when the relationship ended. There's no middle ground with him. Emma's throat tightened. Are you warning me as my supervisor or as someone who cares? Both. Miranda leaned forward. I've worked for the Volkov family for 12 years. I've seen what happens to people who get too close, who become liabilities or leverage. Dominic is brilliant and can be surprisingly kind, but his world operates by rules that will crush someone like you if you're not careful. Someone like me, Emma repeated quietly. You mean someone ordinary, someone with a child to protect, someone who doesn't belong in his world. I mean someone with something to lose. Miranda's eyes held genuine concern. Just be careful, Emma, and keep your work separate from your personal life. It's the only way to survive this with your career intact. Emma nodded, not trusting her voice, and returned to her desk. The white roses suddenly felt like a weight rather than a gift, evidence of her entanglement with a man whose interest could either elevate her or destroy her, depending on forces she couldn't control. But when 6 o'clock arrived and Dominic appeared in the lobby looking unfairly handsome in dark jeans and a leather jacket, when he smiled at her like she was the best part of his day, Emma's doubts evaporated like morning mist. Ready? He asked, offering his hand. Emma took it, feeling the now familiar electricity of his touch. Ready. Instead of Marcus and the sedan, Dominic led her to a sleek black motorcycle, parked at the curb. Emma stopped. You ride? When I can. It's one of the few times I feel completely free. He handed her a helmet. Have you ever been on one? Never. Do you trust me? The question carried weight beyond the motorcycle. Emma met his eyes, seeing vulnerability there, a genuine need for her answer. Yes, she said softly. I trust you. His smile was brilliant. Then hold on tight. The ride through Chicago was exhilarating and terrifying. Emma wrapped her arms around Dominic's waist, pressed against his back, feeling the vibration of the engine and the wind whipping past. He navigated through traffic with confident precision, taking them out of the city and into the suburbs, then further still, until skyscrapers gave way to trees and the noise of the city faded to blessed quiet. They stopped at a small lakefront property, a cottage that looked like something from a fairy tale. All weathered wood and flower boxes, with a dock extending into the water where the setting sun painted everything gold. What is this place? Emma asked as Dominic helped her off the bike. Mine. Well, my mother's originally. She bought it 30 years ago as an escape from my father's world. When she died, she left it to me. He looked at the cottage with an expression Emma had never seen on his face, something tender and sad. I've never brought anyone here before. The significance of that statement settled over Emma like a blanket. Why me? Because you're real. Dominic took her hand, interlacing their fingers. Because in the past 3 weeks, you've become the only thing in my life that feels genuine. Because I wanted to share this with you, this place where I can just be Dominic. Not the heir to the Volkov empire, not the CEO, not the man everyone either fears or wants something from. He led her inside. The cottage was small but beautifully maintained, with comfortable furniture and family photos on the walls. Emma studied them, a younger Dominic, with a beautiful woman who had his eyes, both of them laughing at the camera. Your mother was lovely, Emma said softly. She was everything good in my life. Dominic's voice was rough with old grief. She tried to protect me from my father's world, but cancer doesn't care about protection. She died when I was 17. My father followed 5 years later, and I inherited everything, the legitimate businesses and the ones that operate in shadows. Emma turned to face him. You could have walked away, built something entirely your own. I thought about it. He moved to the window, looking out at the lake. But the men who worked for my father, who'd built their lives around the organization he created, they needed leadership. Without it, everything would have descended into chaos. Rival families would have moved in. People would have died. He glanced back at her. So I stayed. I built the legitimate empire to give people a way out, to create options beyond the life my father chose. But I also maintained enough of the old world to keep the peace, to protect the people who couldn't protect themselves. That's a heavy burden, Emma said, moving to stand beside him. It is, and it's lonely. He turned to her, vulnerability naked in his expression. Until 3 weeks ago, when a beautiful woman slapped me at a charity gala and reminded me what it felt like to be seen as just a man, not an empire. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. Dominic, I'm falling for you, Emma. The words came out raw, honest. I know it's too soon. I know I should be more careful, more strategic, but I can't seem to think straight around you. You've gotten under my skin in a way no one ever has. Emma reached up to cup his face, feeling the slight stubble under her palm, the warmth of his skin. I'm falling for you too, and it terrifies me. Why? Because I have Lily to think about. Because your world is dangerous in ways I don't fully understand. Because Miranda warned me today that people like me get destroyed when they get too close to people like you. Her voice cracked, slightly. Because I'm already in too deep to walk away, but not sure enough to stay. Dominic covered her hand with his, pressing it more firmly against his cheek. I won't let anything happen to you or Lily. I swear it. You can't promise that. You can't control everything. No, but I can do everything in my power to keep you safe. His other hand came up to cradle her face. Emma, I know I'm asking a lot. I know dating me comes with complications and risks, but I also know that you're the first person in years who's made me want something beyond survival and success. You make me want a life, not just an empire. The kiss happened naturally, inevitably, soft at first, questioning, then deepening as Emma pressed closer, as Dominic's arms wrapped around her, as they both stopped fighting the pull that had existed since that first slap at the gala. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. Stay for dinner, he said softly. I'll have you home by 8, I promise, but stay with me a little longer. Emma nodded, unable to speak past the emotion clogging her throat. They cooked together in the cottage's small kitchen pasta, and sauce from ingredients Dominic had stocked the day before, clearly planning this moment. They talked about everything and nothing, laughing over Emma's terrible knife skills and Dominic's admission that he'd learned to cook from YouTube videos after his mother died. It felt domestic, normal, like they were just two people falling in love, rather than a mafia heir and a single mother from different worlds. But as they ate dinner on the dock, watching the sun set over the lake, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Cute date. Very romantic. Does he know about your credit card? Debt? About the restraining order against your ex? About how desperate you really are? Emma's blood ran cold. The phone nearly slipped from her fingers. Dominic noticed immediately. What's wrong? She handed him the phone wordlessly, watching his expression darken as he read the message. Who is this? He asked, his voice deadly calm. I don't know. Emma's voice shook. How do they know where we are? How do they know about Marcus? About my credit? Someone's been investigating you. Dominic was already on his feet, his own phone out, typing rapidly. Someone who wants to use you to get to me. The romantic evening shattered like glass. Within minutes, 2 black SUVs appeared on the cottage's private road. Men in dark suits emerged, sweeping the property while Dominic made call after call, his voice sharp with controlled fury. Emma sat on the dock, arms wrapped around herself, watching her peaceful moment transform into something from a thriller movie. This was real. This was Dominic's world, the one where privacy was an illusion and danger lurked in shadows, waiting to strike. Emma. Dominic crouched in front of her, his hands gentle on her knees despite the hardness in his eyes. I need you to listen carefully. Someone is targeting you to get to me. Until we know who and why, I'm putting protection on you and Lily. Protection? Emma's voice came out small. You mean bodyguards? Yes, discreet ones. They'll watch your apartment, follow you to work, make sure Lily's daycare is secure. At her expression, he added, I know this is frightening. I know this isn't what you signed up for. But I will not let anyone hurt you or your daughter because of your connection to me. Maybe we should stop seeing each other. The words hurt to say, but Emma forced them out. If being with you puts Lily at risk, it's too late for that. Dominic's grip on her knees tightened slightly. Whoever sent that text already knows about us. Ending our relationship won't make you less of a target. It'll just make you more vulnerable because you won't have my resources protecting you. Emma's mind spun. This is insane. 3 weeks ago I was just a waitress trying to get a design job. Now I have people threatening me and bodyguards and... Her voice cracked. I can't do this, Dominic. I can't put Lily in danger. You're not putting her in danger. I am. The admission was raw with guilt. This is my fault, my world, my enemies using you to get to me. But I will fix it. I will find out who's behind this, and I will end the threat. I promise you that. The coldness in his voice when he said, end the threat, made Emma shiver. This was the other Dominic. The dangerous one. The one who ruled an empire through methods she didn't want to know about. Take me home, she whispered. Please. I need to see Lily. I need to know she's okay. The drive back to the city was silent and tense. Not on the romantic motorcycle, but in an armored SUV with tinted windows, flanked by 2 other vehicles. Emma sat rigid in the back seat, Dominic beside her, his hand covering hers but his attention on his phone as he coordinated security measures with brutal efficiency. When they arrived at Emma's apartment building, there were already 2 men stationed outside. Discreet, but unmistakably guards. They'll be here 24/7, Dominic said as they rode the elevator up. Different teams, rotating shifts. They won't interfere with your life, but they'll make sure no one gets to you or Lily. Mrs. Park opened the apartment door looking worried. Miss Emma, there. Are strange men outside. It's okay, Mrs. Park. They're security. I'll explain later. Emma rushed past her to Lily's room, where her daughter slept peacefully, unaware that her world had just become exponentially more complicated. Emma sank onto the edge of Lily's bed, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Everything she'd built, the safe, stable life for her daughter, the careful distance from drama and danger, was crumbling. Dominic appeared in the doorway, his expression stricken. Emma, I need you to go, she said without looking at him. I need to think. I need to figure out what to do. I'm not leaving you alone and vulnerable. I'm not alone. I have Mrs. Park, and apparently I have bodyguards now whether I want them or not. Emma finally looked at him, seeing her own pain reflected in his eyes. Please, Dominic, I just need some space to breathe. He was silent for a moment, clearly warring with himself. Then he nodded. The guards stay, and you call me if anything at all feels wrong. Promise me. I promise. After he left, after Mrs. Park departed with worried glances and promises to come early tomorrow, Emma sat in her darkened living room and let herself cry. For the simple life she'd been building. For the dangerous man she was falling for. For her daughter, who deserved better than a mother whose romantic choices came with death threats and bodyguards. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dominic. I'm sorry for all of this, but I'm not sorry for meeting you. I'll fix this, Emma. I swear. Emma didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. She fell asleep on the couch, emotionally exhausted, and dreamed of motorcycles and lake cottages and a life that felt increasingly impossible. The next morning brought chaos. Emma woke to her phone, ringing at 6 a.m. Sarah's panicked voice came through before Emma could even say hello. Tell me you're okay. Tell me Lily's okay. We're fine. Sarah, what? Check the news. Check Twitter. Emma, you're everywhere. With trembling fingers, Emma pulled up her phone's browser. The first headline made her stomach drop. Volkov Hare's new girlfriend. Single mother with troubled past. The article was brutal. Photos of Emma leaving Volkov Industries. Screenshots of her deleted social media profiles. Details about Marcus's fraud and her destroyed credit. Information about her struggles as a single mother. Her community college education. Her previous jobs. Everything painted to make her look like a gold digger. A desperate woman using her child to trap a billionaire. "Oh God," Emma whispered. "There's more." Sarah's voice was grim. "Someone leaked photos from that first gala. You. Slapping him. Him laughing. The tabloids are calling it the slap heard round Chicago, and speculating that the whole thing was staged for publicity." Emma's vision blurred. Her private life, her struggles, her past, all of it exposed for public consumption and judgment. A soft knock at the door made her jump. Through the peephole, she saw Dominic, looking like he hadn't slept, his expression murderous. She opened the door. He stepped inside, immediately pulling her into his arms. "I'm handling it," he said into her hair. "My legal team is already issuing cease and desist orders. We'll sue, for invasion of privacy, for libel, for everything we can." "It's too late." Emma's voice was muffled against his chest. "Everyone's already seen it. Everyone knows about Marcus, about my credit, about—" She pulled back, horror dawning. "The people at work, Miranda, they're all going to see this. And they'll think you're a survivor who rebuilt her life after someone she trusted destroyed it." Dominic cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Emma, listen to me. Yes, your past is now public. Yes, it's violating and infuriating and wrong. But there's nothing in those articles that reflects badly on you. You were victimized by your ex. You worked multiple jobs to provide for your child. You put yourself through school. Those are facts to be proud of, not ashamed of. Tell that to the internet." Emma's laugh was bitter. "The comments are already saying I'm using Lily to manipulate you, that I'm after your money, that I probably got pregnant on purpose to trap some rich man." Dominic's jaw clenched. "The comments are from anonymous cowards who don't matter. The people who matter, your real friends, your colleagues, me, we know the truth." "Do they?" Emma pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. "Miranda already warned me yesterday that people think I'm sleeping my way to success. This just confirms every nasty rumor. Then we go public. Together, we control the narrative." "No." The word came out sharp. "No more publicity. No more exposure. I just want this to go away." "It won't go away, Emma. Not now. Someone orchestrated this leak deliberately, the same person who sent you that text last night. They're trying to drive a wedge between us, to make you run scared." He stepped closer. "Don't let them win. Don't let them take this from us." Emma looked at him, this powerful, dangerous man who'd somehow become central to her life in 3 weeks. Who'd shown her cottages by lakes, and made her laugh and looked at her like she was precious. Who'd also brought threats and invasions of privacy and complications she'd never imagined. "I need to think about what's best for Lily," she said quietly. "That has to come first, always." "I know, and I respect that." Dominic's expression softened. "But think about this too, walking away won't protect her. We're already connected in the public eye. The damage is done. But staying together, letting me use my resources to protect both of you, that might actually keep her safer than facing this alone." The logic was sound, even if Emma hated it. Before she could respond, Lily's door opened, and her daughter padded out, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Mommy? Who are you talking to?" Emma's heart clenched as Lily's gaze landed on Dominic. This was it. The moment she'd been putting off, knowing it would make everything more real, more complicated. "Lily, sweetheart, this is my friend Dominic." Emma kept her voice light despite the tension thrumming through her. "Dominic, this is my daughter, Lily." Dominic crouched down to Lily's eye level, his expression transforming into something gentle and genuine that made Emma's heart stutter. "It's wonderful to meet you, Lily. Your mom talks about you all the time." Lily studied him with the serious, assessing gaze only small children could pull off. "I think they're fascinating. Do you have a favorite?" "Pterodactyl. They could fly." Lily's reserve melted slightly. "Most people think they're dinosaurs, but they're actually flying reptiles from the same time period." Dominic's smile was genuine. "That's a very important distinction. Thank you for educating me." Emma watched the interaction with a lump in her throat. This was dangerous. Not just falling for Dominic herself, but watching Lily warm to him. Seeing the way he spoke to her daughter with respect rather than condescension. "Lily, sweetie, why don't you pick out your clothes for school while I finish talking to Dominic?" After Lily skipped back to her room, Emma turned to find Dominic watching her with an expression that took her breath away. "She's remarkable," he said softly. "Just like her mother." "Don't," Emma's voice cracked. "Don't make this harder than it already is." "Emma, I need time, Dominic. Time to process everything. Time to figure out what's safe for Lily. Time to decide if I can really handle your world." She took a shaky breath. "Can you give me that? Just a few days? Without pressure or decisions or crisis management?" He looked like he wanted to argue, to push, to fix everything immediately. But then he nodded. "Take the time you need. The security stays regardless. And I'll handle the media situation." "But Emma," he stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Don't disappear on me. Whatever you decide, give me a chance to fight for this. For us." After he left, Emma got Lily ready for school on autopilot, her mind spinning with impossible choices. At drop-off, she noticed parents whispering, casting curious glances her way. The news had already spread to her. Daughter's school. At work, the atmosphere was even worse. People fell silent when Emma entered the office. Jennifer offered a sympathetic smile, but others avoided eye contact. The whispers followed her to her cubicle. Miranda appeared within 15 minutes. "My office. Now." Emma followed her, stomach in knots. "I'm not firing you," Miranda said before Emma could speak. "Your work is excellent and your personal life is your own business. But I am moving you to a different project team, one that doesn't directly interface with Dominic's office. It's better for everyone this way." It was a demotion disguised as protection. Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. "For what it's worth," Miranda added, as Emma turned to leave. "I think the media is being viciously unfair. You've done nothing wrong, but perception matters in this industry. And right now, you need to focus on being so good at your job that nobody can question why you're here." Emma spent the rest of the day with her head down, working on her new assignment, a smaller, less prestigious project. The River North development she'd been excited about was handed to another designer. Every ounce of progress she'd made felt stripped away. By the time she picked up Lily from daycare, Emma was emotionally drained. The bodyguards followed at a discreet distance, a constant reminder of her new reality. "Mommy, why are those men following us?" Lily asked as they walked to the train. Emma's heart broke a little. "They're friends, just making sure we're safe." "Safe from what?" "From my own choices," Emma thought. "From falling for the wrong man. From wanting things I can't have without consequences. Just safe, baby. Don't worry about it." That night, after Lily was asleep, Emma sat at her kitchen table with a glass of wine she desperately needed and her phone in her hand. She'd been avoiding Dominic's texts all day. Not angry messages, just gentle check-ins, asking if she was okay, if she needed anything, reminding her that he was there. She pulled up their text thread and started typing several times, deleting each attempt. What did she even say? That she was falling in love with him but terrified of what that meant. That she wanted the fairy tale but knew real life didn't work that way. That every logical part of her brain said run but her heart kept finding reasons to stay. Her phone rang. Not Dominic, an unknown number. Against her better judgment, Emma answered. "Hello? Miss Chen." We haven't been formally introduced. The voice was male, cultured, with an accent she couldn't place. "My name is Viktor Kozlov. I believe you're acquainted with Dominic Volkov." Emma's blood ran cold. I don't know who you are, but I'm someone who can make your problems disappear. The media attention, the threats, all of it. A pause. All you have to do is walk away from Dominic, publicly, completely. Make it clear that you want nothing to do with him or his world. And if I don't, then the next leak won't be about your credit history. It'll be about Lily, her school, her routine, where she's vulnerable. The threat was delivered calmly, almost pleasantly. "I have no desire to harm a child, Miss Chen, but I will use whatever leverage necessary to achieve my goals. Dominic is making moves that threaten my operations. You're the weakness I need to exploit." Emma's hand trembled so badly she nearly dropped the phone. "You're threatening my daughter. I'm offering you a choice. Walk away and live your quiet life in peace, or stay with Dominic and watch everything you love become collateral damage in a war you don't understand." The line went dead. Emma sat frozen, terror and rage warring within her. Someone had just threatened Lily, her baby, the most important thing in her world. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to pack up Lily tonight and disappear, to go back to San Francisco where her parents could help, to get as far from Dominic Volkov and his dangerous world as possible. But another part of her, the part that had survived Marcus's betrayal, that had rebuilt her life from nothing, that had slapped a mafia boss for being rude, that part was furious. No one threatened her daughter. No one. Emma picked up her phone and called Dominic. He answered on the first ring. "Emma, are you okay?" "Someone just called me. Viktor Kozlov." He threatened Lily. Her voice was remarkably steady, given the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "He wants me to publicly end things with you, or he'll target her." The silence on the other end was terrifying in its completeness. When Dominic spoke, his voice was cold enough to freeze blood. "Where are you?" "Home. The guards are outside. I'm sending more. Don't open the door for anyone except me. I'll be there in 10 minutes. A pause, then softer. "Emma, I'm so sorry. This is exactly what I was trying to prevent. I'm not calling to blame you. I'm calling because I've made a decision." Emma took a breath. "I'm not running. I'm not letting some criminal dictate my life or use my daughter as leverage. So whatever you need to do to end this threat, to protect Lily, do it. I don't care what it takes or what it costs. Just keep her safe." "You're sure?" Dominic's voice held wonder and concern in equal measure. "Emma, what I'll have to do to Kozlov, it won't be legal. It won't be clean. If you're asking me to protect Lily, you're asking me to be the man everyone fears, not the one you had dinner with." "I know." Emma's voice was steady. "I'm not naive about who you are or what your world requires. I'm just choosing to trust that the man who's gentle with my daughter is the same. Man who can be ruthless with his enemies. Can you do that? Can you be both? For you and Lily, I can be anything you need. Then come over. We need to talk about what happens next." After hanging up, Emma checked on Lily one more time, still sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother had just declared war on her behalf. Emma wasn't a fighter by nature. She'd spent her adult life avoiding conflict, choosing safety over risk, protecting herself and Lily from the chaos of unpredictable men and dangerous situations. But Viktor Kozlov had made a critical mistake. He'd threatened her daughter, and Emma Chen would burn the world down before she let anyone harm Lily. Dominic arrived with reinforcements, 4 additional guards who swept the apartment and positioned themselves strategically. He also brought a technical specialist who checked for bugs and installed additional security measures while Emma and Dominic talked in hushed tones in her kitchen. "Kozlov is old guard Russian Bratva," Dominic explained, his voice low so as not to wake Lily. "He's been trying to move into Chicago territory for 2 years, but my father's old agreements kept him out. Now that I'm in charge and focusing more on legitimate business, he sees an opening. And I'm what? Leverage to force you to back off?" "Exactly. If he can make me choose between my empire and you, he thinks I'll choose power." Dominic's expression was grim. "He doesn't understand that I've had power my whole life. I've never had someone worth protecting it for." Emma's heart clenched. "What's your plan?" "Kozlov operates out of a warehouse district in the South Side. He thinks he's untouchable because he's kept his operations small and mobile. But I have resources he doesn't." Dominic pulled out his porting phone, showing Emma a map with several locations marked. "By tomorrow morning, every single one of his distribution points will be seized by federal agents. His finances will be frozen. His connections will disappear." "How?" "I've been feeding information to the FBI for months. They've been building a case. I just need to accelerate the timeline." His eyes met hers. "The DEA owes me favors. So does Homeland Security. When you run an empire like mine, you learn to cultivate relationships on both sides of the law." Emma processed this. "You're turning him into the authorities." "I'm eliminating the threat using legal channels. It's cleaner this way. Less risk of retaliation, less chance of civilian casualties." He paused. "But Emma, once I do this, there's no going back. Kozlov's allies will know I was behind it. Some of them will want revenge. Being with me will always carry risks. Being alive carries risks." Emma surprised herself with her steady tone. "At least with you, I have resources to fight back." Dominic studied her face like he was seeing her for the first time. "You're extraordinary. Do you know that? I'm a mother protecting her child. That's not extraordinary. It's basic biology." "No." He cupped her face gently. You could have run. Most people would have. Instead, you're standing your ground and trusting me to handle this. That takes courage. I didn't know you possessed. I'm terrified, Emma admitted. But I'm more angry than afraid, and I'm tired of letting fear make my decisions. The technical specialist emerged from Lily's room. All clear. The apartment is secure, and I've installed panic buttons in every room. Press 1, and the entire team responds within seconds. After the specialist left, Dominic made several more calls, setting pieces in motion with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd orchestrated far more complex operations. Emma watched him transform from the gentle man who'd crouched to talk to Lily into the ruthless operator who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Both versions were real. Both were Dominic. And somehow, impossibly, Emma was falling for all of him. "Stay," she said when he finally ended his last call. Dominic looked up, surprised. "What?" "Stay tonight. On the couch. Emma struggled to articulate the need for his presence. "I don't want to be alone. And I think Lily would like to see you at breakfast. If you're going to be part of our lives, she should get used to having you around." His expression transformed into something tender and hopeful. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Emma brought him blankets and a pillow, hyper-aware of his presence in her small apartment, of the intimacy of this domestic moment. When she retreated to her bedroom, she left the door cracked and lay in bed listening to the sounds of Dominic settling on her couch, of the guards making their rounds outside, of Lily's soft breathing from the adjacent room. Her life had become unrecognizable in less than a month. But for the first time in years, Emma didn't feel alone in facing the chaos. She fell asleep thinking about lake cottages and motorcycle rides, and a dangerous man who made her feel both protected and brave enough to protect herself. Morning brought Lily's delighted surprise at finding Dominic in their kitchen making pancakes. "You can cook," Lily exclaimed, climbing onto a stool to watch. "Basic survival skill," Dominic replied with a smile. "Plus, your mom mentioned you like pancakes, and I wanted to impress you both." Emma emerged from her bedroom to find her daughter chattering about pterodactyls while Dominic shaped pancake batter into dinosaur forms with remarkable skill. The domestic scene made her chest tight with longing for a future that felt increasingly possible and terrifyingly fragile. "Mommy, look!" Dominic made a T-Rex. "I see that, baby. That's amazing." After breakfast, while Lily got ready for school, Dominic pulled Emma aside. "The operation starts in 2 hours. By tonight, Kozlov will be in federal custody, and his organization will be dismantled." His expression was serious. "But I need you and Lily out of the apartment until it's done, just as a precaution." "Where should we go?" "The lake cottage. It's secure, it's private, and Kozlov doesn't know about it." At her hesitation, he added, "I've already arranged for Lily's school to excuse her absences. We can make it an adventure she can miss a couple days of kindergarten." Emma wanted to protest the high-handedness of him arranging things without asking, but the fear in her gut, the memory of Kozlov's threats, made her swallow her pride. "Okay, but you're coming too?" "As soon as everything's handled, I promise." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Marcus will drive you. There are groceries stocked, toys for Lily, everything you need. Just stay there and stay safe until I can confirm the threat is neutralized." An hour later, Emma and Lily were in the back of the armored SUV, heading out of Chicago with a security detail that made her feel both protected and terrified. Lily thought it was an adventure, chattering about the lake and asking if there would be fish to catch, and declaring that Dominic was really nice for a grown-up. At the cottage, Emma tried to relax, but anxiety kept her checking her phone obsessively. Dominic sent periodic updates. Phase 1 complete, multiple arrests made. Then, Kozlov in custody, warehouse seized. Finally, near sunset. "It's done. He can't hurt you. I'm on my way." Emma sagged with relief, then spent the next hour, getting Lily bathed and into pajamas, reading her stories by the fireplace, trying to provide normalcy in the midst of chaos. When headlights appeared in the driveway, Emma's heart leapt. She watched through the window as Dominic emerged from his car, looking exhausted but triumphant. He knocked, softly before entering, his eyes immediately finding Emma's. "It's over," he said simply. "Kozlov's facing multiple federal charges. His assets are frozen. His organization is scattered. He won't be threatening anyone for a very long time." Emma crossed the room and threw herself into his arms, letting the adrenaline and fear of the past days finally release in shuddering sobs. Dominic held her tight, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances. You're safe. Lily's safe. I've got you. Eventually Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry. I don't usually fall apart like this. You're allowed. You've been incredibly brave. Dominic cupped her face. But it's over now. You can breathe. Dominic! Lily's voice called from her room. Will you read me another story? He looked at Emma, asking permission. She nodded, her heart full as she watched him disappear into the bedroom where her daughter waited. 20 minutes later, he emerged to find Emma on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars. She's asleep, he said softly, settling beside her. Cuddling a stuffed dinosaur, and asking when we can come back to the lake. She likes you, Emma said. That makes this more complicated. Or simpler. Dominic took her hand. Emma, I know the past few weeks have been insane. I know I've dragged you into a world you never asked for. I know there are still risks and complications ahead. But I also know that I'm in love with you. Completely. Irrevocably. And if you'll let me, I want to build a life with you and Lily. Not just weekend escapes to lake cottages, but something real and lasting. Emma's breath caught. You love me? How could I not? You're brilliant and brave and beautiful. You stood up to me when no one else would. You trusted me with your daughter. You chose to fight rather than run when threatened. His thumb traced circles on her palm. I've never met anyone like you, Emma, and I don't want to let you go. I love you too, Emma whispered, the words feeling both terrifying and inevitable. God help me, I love you. Even though you're dangerous and complicated, and come with bodyguards and criminal enemies. Dominic's laugh was soft and relieved. I promised to make it worth the trouble. Their kiss was different from previous ones, deeper, more certain, carrying the weight of everything they'd survived and everything they knew were choosing together. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. So what happens now? Emma asked. Now we go back to Chicago. You continue being brilliant at your job on your own merits, not because of me. I continue running my empire and slowly transitioning it toward legitimacy. We figure out how to blend our very different worlds. He paused. And eventually, if you'll have me, I'd like to marry you. Make this permanent. Give Lily the stable family she deserves. Emma's eyes widened. You're serious. I was serious when I proposed at the gala. I'm even more serious now. His expression turned playful. Though preferably this time you'll say yes instead of slapping me. Emma laughed through her tears. I can't promise anything. You still have the capacity to be infuriating. Fair enough. Dominic pulled her closer. So is that a yes? Eventually? Ask me again in 6 months, when we've had time to figure out if we can actually make this work without someone threatening my daughter or leaking my private information to tabloids. Deal. He kissed her forehead. But I'm warning you, I'm very persuasive when I want something. I've noticed. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars, both processing how drastically their lives had changed in less than a month. How a single slap at a charity gala had set in motion events that led to this moment, this fragile, hopeful, terrifying possibility of a future together. Hey, Dominic, Emma said, softly. Yes? Thank you. For protecting us, for letting me be part of your real life, not just the polished public version, for being someone worthy of the risk. Thank you for taking the risk. He tightened his arm around her shoulders, for seeing past the reputation and the danger to the man underneath, for giving me a reason to want more than just power and survival. As the night deepened and the temperature dropped, they moved inside, banking the fire and checking on Lily one last time before settling on the couch together. Emma tucked against Dominic's side, his heartbeat steady, beneath her ear. For the first time since that threatening phone call, since the media exposure, since her entire life had been turned upside down, Emma felt at peace. The future was still uncertain. There would be more complications, more challenges to navigate. Building a life with Dominic Volkov meant accepting risks and dangers she'd never anticipated, but it also meant partnership, protection, a love fierce enough to weather storms and strong enough to build on. Emma fell asleep thinking that maybe, just maybe, the fairy tale was possible after all, even if it came with bodyguards and federal investigations and the occasional need to slap some sense into a powerful man who loved her back. Epilogue. 6 months later, the gallery opening was everything the first charity gala hadn't been: intimate, genuine, celebrating local artists rather than wealthy donors. Emma stood beside Dominic, wearing a dress she'd chosen herself. though he'd insisted on buying it. Watching Lily examine a sculpture with serious concentration. The past 6 months had been a journey navigating their relationship publicly, dealing with media scrutiny, slowly building trust with the Volkov Industries staff who'd initially doubted her. Emma's work had spoken for itself. Her designs for the River North campaign had won awards. Miranda had promoted her to senior designer. The whispers about nepotism had faded as her talent became undeniable. Dominic had kept his promise about transitioning toward legitimacy. The shadier aspects of the Volkov empire were being systematically dismantled or sold off. It was slow, complicated work that frustrated him daily, but he persisted because he wanted to build something Lily could be proud of when she was old enough to understand. "Mommy, can I have this one?" Lily pointed to a small bronze dinosaur sculpture. "That's a very expensive piece, baby. But it's a velociraptor." Lily drew out the word with the dramatic flair only a 5-year-old could manage. Dominic crouched beside her. "Tell you what, if your mom says it's okay, I'll buy it for you. But you have to promise to take very good care of it." Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Consider it an early birthday present." After the purchase was made and Lily was occupied examining her new treasure with the gallery owner, Dominic took Emma's hand and led her to a quiet corner. "So," he said, that familiar half-smile playing on his lips. 6 months. 6 months, Emma agreed. "We survived media scrutiny, criminal threats, office politics, and Lily's dinosaur phase, which I'm told might never actually end." Emma laughed. "Probably not. No. We've learned how to fight and make up, how to blend our worlds, how to be partners." He paused, his expression turning serious. "And I've learned that I can't imagine my life without you and Lily in it." Emma's heart started to race as Dominic reached into his jacket pocket. "I know I said I'd wait 6 months to ask again. I'm a day early, but..." He pulled out a small velvet box. "Emma Chen, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life protecting you, annoying you, and loving you with everything I have?" Tears streamed down Emma's face as she nodded. Yes, absolutely, yes." The ring was beautiful, a simple solitaire that caught the gallery lights. But Emma barely looked at it before throwing her arms around Dominic's neck. "I love you," she whispered against his ear, "even when you're infuriating and overprotective and making unilateral decisions about my daughter's birthday presents." "I love you too," he murmured back, "even when you're stubborn and independent and refuse to let me spoil you properly." "What's happening?" Lily's voice interrupted. "Why is Mommy crying?" "Dominic, did you make her sad?" Dominic and Emma broke apart, both laughing. Emma wiped her eyes and crouched to Lily's level. "Happy tears, baby. Dominic just asked me to marry him." Lily's face scrunched in confusion. "Like, be married? Like be a family?" "Exactly like that," Dominic said, kneeling beside Emma. "If that's okay with you, Lily, I'd like to officially become part of your family. I promise to always listen to your dinosaur facts, make pancakes on weekends, and take very good care of your mom." Lily considered this with the seriousness only a 5-year-old could muster. Then she threw her arms around both of them. "Okay, but can we get a dog too?" Emma and Dominic looked at each other over Lily's head and burst out laughing. "We'll discuss the dog," Emma said. Later that night, after Lily was tucked in and sleeping peacefully, the bronze velociraptor carefully placed on her nightstand, Emma and Dominic sat on her apartment balcony, the same balcony, where she'd stood months ago, wondering if dinner with a dangerous man was worth the risk. "No regrets?" Dominic asked, interlacing his fingers with hers. Emma looked at the ring on her finger, thinking about everything that had brought them to this moment. The slap, the job, the threats, and the triumphs. The slow building of trust and love between two people from different worlds who'd somehow found their way to each other. "No regrets," she said firmly. "You?" "Not a single one." He raised her hand to kiss her knuckles. "Though I do sometimes wonder what would have happened if you hadn't slapped me." Emma smiled. "You'd probably still be a condescending ass at charity events." "Probably," he agreed. "Good thing you put me in my place. Good thing you were smart enough to appreciate it." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the Chicago skyline glitter against the night sky, both thinking about the future they were building together, unconventional, complicated, but entirely theirs. Somewhere in the city, life continued its chaotic pace. But on this balcony, in this moment, Emma Chen and Dominic Volkov had found something rare and precious, a love worth fighting for, a partnership worth protecting, and a family worth building, even if it had started with a slap heard round Chicago. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.